Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Father-Son Packers podcast, your source for Packers news, notes, and analysis. My name is Tommy. I'm one of your hosts, as always, joined by my co-host, my dad, Matt. Dad, how you doing?
Okay, had a delicious dinner tonight. Mom and I made some shrimp fra diavolo. It was quite tasty.
Nice. You know, that's better than most people are doing after a loss. Seem to be doing okay, taking the loss all right. I'm doing slightly less well. The answer we were looking for was not doing well. The Packers lost, but you know your answer's okay as well, I suppose.
It was a delicious dinner.
You're just blocking out everything about this game, huh?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. We seem to have lost a day in the weekend. I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah, it's like we only got Saturday for some reason. I was only had one day, but yes,
I went to sleep. Saturday night, woke up Monday morning, I think.
Yeah, crazy how that happens sometimes. But anyway, the Packers, unfortunately, if you might have surmised, lost this weekend, 25-24 in Atlanta. Dad, they did cover the spread, though, and you know what they always say, good teams win, great teams cover, and there's nothing more to that saying, so Packers, clearly a great team.
We had a little discussion about this. Are you kidding?
Isn't
it? Don't you have to be like the favorite in cover to be great?
Don't argue with me. Argue with the saying. It's not. I didn't say it. I'm just quoting. You know. But anyways, yes, the Packers lose 25-24. And Dad, I think, we'll get into some pitches and stuff. But bird's eye view of this game. If you told me before the game if we lost by one on the road and Jordan Love looked pretty good, and lost by one on the road to the Falcons, who are a pretty good team, I would say, okay, I'd be all right with that. It's just the way they lost is very annoying. Blowing a 12-point lead in the fourth quarter is very annoying. I mean, it is what it is. The fact that they had this game, essentially, and just kind of threw it away is, I think, the annoying part.
Let it slip away very meekly in many ways.
Yeah.
And they had... But, big picture, 1-1 after their first two road games.
1-1.
That's good.
And the rest of the North also lost this weekend, so you're just keeping first place there. Yeah,
yeah. And I was just like, oh, we could have stolen and banked another road win for the season.
Like I said, it's not
really nice.
It's not the fact that they lost; it's the way they lost. Because if you go into this game, told me they fought close, 1-point game on the road, back-to-back road games to open the year, it's like, okay, so the way they lost is super annoying. It's really, I think that's the best word I have for it. It's just annoying. You kind of had it, and you just kind of frittered it away, I guess. But anyway, we're going to be talking.
Didn't make a good play for a substantial part of the game there.
They pretty much had, I would say, 4 or 5 opportunities to make a play that could win the game, and they just didn't 4 or 5 times in a row make a play to win the game. I felt like was kind of how the end of that game went. But anyway, we'll be talking all about this game in detail here, doing a post game. So come do your therapy with us. But before we get into that, just wanted to pitch a couple of things. If you like what you hear today, come give us a follow on Twitter at FatherSonPacker. That's where we're most active. We tweet out when we have new episodes out. We tweet out articles we find interesting, pieces of news, video clips that other people post that we think are very encapsulating of the game as a whole, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So come, follow us at FatherSonPacker for all your one-stop shopping for Packers news and notes. And also, if you like what you hear here today, come subscribe to us on your podcast platform of choice, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube. We put all our episodes out on all of those platforms. If you subscribe to us on YouTube, it would really help our numbers a lot, so we would really appreciate that. But, Dad, anything I'm missing, or should we get into this game, starting with the injury report? And that, I think, is another big story of this game that we have not really talked about yet. And that's that the Packers, both before and after this game, they're starting to have troubles with their health just 2 weeks into the season.
Yeah, and critical ones after we're thinking, we could have the best left side of the offensive line in the league.
They could. But like you said, that did not exactly go as planned. Going into this game, we're going to start with the left tackle situation with David Bakhtiari. Going into this game, he was questionable. We had spoken a little bit at length last week about whether or not we thought he would play. Now, Matt LaFleur said today that, there was swelling in his knee. There's been speculation it was because of the turf that he didn't play. There's so much speculation going around that it's hard to really say for sure, but I think, at this point you kind of...
Yeah, and LaFleur said he would not have played on grass either.
Yeah, and it's like you just kind of have to take the team at face value. I hate saying you have to take them at face value. I mean, you can believe what you want to believe, but I'm choosing to take the team at face value because otherwise it's like you're just assuming they're lying, which, I'm sure in a year or two we'll know if there was anything more to this, if it was that he just didn't want to play on turf. Not to insinuate that that's what it was, but I know some people have been speculating that. And
it could be that, not that he's just like, I'm never going to play on it, but you brought up the point last time. The last time he played on turf, he had his knee reacted badly, and he had to come out.
Missed the second half of the game against Detroit in Week 9 was the last time he played on turf. And, it's tough because I think, I know some people get frustrated by the Bakhtiari thing, and it's understandable because it is a bit frustrating as a fan. But, as frustrating as it is for us, it's got to be like 10 times more frustrating for him. Like, take a walk in his shoes. Like, you're on the path to like a Hall of Fame career at left tackle. You're the highest paid left tackle in the game. You're number 1 or number 2 in the league at left tackle, depending on who you talk to. Like, you're in that conversation every year. You're getting tons of All-Pros, tons of awards. And then all of a sudden in practice in December one day, you blow your knee out and you're never the same. And you're never going to be the same. And your knee's going to hurt the rest of your life. Like, it sucks for him more than anyone. And for people, like, I feel like, a lot of people have, like, let their frustrations with the situation lead to, like, kind of like attacks on David Bakhtiari. And, like, I don't think it's fair to necessarily go there. And I understand it's frustrating. And I understand it can be, like, I don't know. It's just a difficult situation. It sucks. It's just a shitty situation. It just sucks. I don't know what else. Yeah. Like, it just,
the thing that drives me crazy is when, he can't play because of the injury, and people have to attribute it to some kind of character flaw. Some people, not everybody, but some people's like, oh well, there's obviously something wrong with him as a person. It's like, God, just can't you just take it as he is hurt and is trying his hardest to get back, but can't, and it doesn't have to be any more complicated than that.
And even if it is, like, some people have been like, is it just a mental hurdle? I don't think that's necessarily like we've seen last year, the second game he played on turf, Week 9. And just to issue a correction, he actually did play. We spoke last week that he only played one game on turf last year. I had forgotten that he did play the whole Buffalo game. But then the following week was against Detroit, and that was the week that he didn't make it through the game. So you could say that turf compounded. Also,
it's 2 weeks
the
in a row.
turf in Atlanta and Detroit are the same kind of turf. It's field turf is the type of turf, and then the turf in Buffalo is a different kind of turf. It's like A-turf, Titan, something. Now, how big a difference there is between those turfs?
Which one is like the New York turf, which is supposedly like one of the worst in the league? I don't know off the top of my head which one that was. I had only researched those for something I was looking at. But point is, like, even if it is meant, like, he wasn't able to finish the game the last time he went on turf, and it's understandable why he would be reticent to play on turf again, if that was even the reason. Now, Matt LaFleur has said... So my point is, like, whatever the reason is, I think it's, like, valid. Obviously, it's a very difficult situation, especially from a team-building perspective. But I think that's more of a conversation to have this offseason than it is to have right now, because, like, this is just the situation they're in. And it just kind of is. Now, like, I think it's fair to have a discussion, like, well, like, they are paying him this money. Like, is it fair? Like, is there a way to, like, is it fair for them to pay him this money and then him to, if he were to be choosing, and I don't even want to go there, to be honest. I don't even want to go in that direction, really. The teams have so much power in this dynamic league-wide. Nope, I'm not going to.
Yeah, I don't know. That's as much.
The teams
oxygen.
have all the power in that in almost every other situation, so I'm not going to feel bad for them.
And we've already given it so much oxygen that I don't really want to talk about it anymore. But, Bakhtiari doesn't play in this game. Follow-up, though, and something that I think is more concerning, well, also concerning, I guess both are fairly concerning, is that Elton Jenkins has sprained MCL in this game and had to leave the game. Now, Rob Domofsky reported that he had a large brace on his knee. It is the same knee he tore the ACL in, per PackersNews.com. It is that same left knee. So Domofsky reported that he had a large brace on his knee and was limping around the locker room, but that he said it wasn't season-ending. Now, it kind of depends on what the question was asked. Like, was the question, was it season-ending, and he said no? Or was the question, how is it, and he said it's not season-ending? Those are two very different things to me.
Right.
But we'll see. It's not good. It's going to be some time.
One of those is he could be ready in 2 weeks, and the other one, maybe 8 or 10.
Yeah, and so we don't really know, like, the way the question was phrased, and I think that does matter in this case. But either way, not good, Dad, because they could be without I mean, we saw in this game, there were times that it was a big struggle without the entire left side of their line, and that might be scenarios moving forward, and certainly they won't have Elton for at least a few weeks, I would imagine.
Yeah, and I was trying to, I guess we're just going to have to wait to find out if it's going to be like 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 weeks. But it's going to be some time, it seems. He's walking around a brace.
Yeah, and then Christian Watson and Aaron Jones missed the game with hamstring injuries. Now, Christian Watson has practiced since our last recording. He practiced on Friday in a limited fashion, but he still wasn't good to go. Aaron Jones didn't practice at all last week, so that's going to be something to keep an eye on whether or not he's good to go next week. Watson, I would imagine, is closer given the fact he already practiced.
I would say so, but I would also say that even though Jones didn't practice, he did advance in terms of like being outside, helmet on, doing stretching as the week went on compared to what it was an increase in what he was doing, even though it still counted as a DNP.
Yeah, and then the final one is Van Ness left the game for a bit with an elbow injury, but he did return with an elbow brace on and played some more snaps, so that's at least some good news on that front. But Dad, that's kind of it for the injury report. Is there anything that you didn't get a chance to chime in, anything you wanted to add there? Because, I think the biggest thing that people have questions about is the Bakhtiari thing, and honestly, it's a situation with no answers. So it's like,
yeah,
it sucks. I don't know. But anything else you wanted to go there, or you wanted to move on to the game breakdown?
Let's move on to our game breakdown. I think we've spent enough time talking about injuries.
I know, right? Enough for a lifetime. But anyway, moving on to the game breakdown. Dad, the biggest moment of the game, this is kind of how we like to start our breakdowns. We're going to talk a little bit about the offense, talk a little bit about the defense, even talk a little bit about special teams, because I think there's some question marks there for me. But starting with the biggest moment of the game, Dad, and this is the moment that swung ESPN win probability the most, is what we usually go with. What was that play in this game, Dad? What'd you have down for this?
So the touchdown by Ritter, where he the run pass option.
Yeah, the 4th and 4
Gary
scramble
dives
left.
in, and he goes left around the outside. Once he sees Gary commit to run in for the touchdown on 4th down too. 4th and 4.
Like I said,
stop there. If they get the stop there, they win.
They had tons of opportunities to make a play to win the game, and they didn't so many times.
And it went from still had Green Bay winning because they're still leading, but 88.3% Green Bay win to 71.9. So it dropped, like almost 16.5 percentage
precipitously,
points.
Some would say. Like it was. Yeah. I mean, you just get to stop there. 4th and 4. Like, I don't know. That one's tough because. Do you want to talk about that play a little bit? Because I don't know. Did you see Rasul Douglas screaming at Rashawn Gary after the play on that one? Did you see that?
I don't know if I necessarily caught it, but Rasul was the guy who was left hung out to dry there, trying to make the stop on his own. With I think a blocker left over there too. As I don't know if the receiver was able to get a block on him, but it was
at the time I was thinking, I see why Gary feels like he wants to pinch in. Like they've been getting gashed in the run game all game. Like they've been going for 5 yards a pop every single time. It's 4th and 4. It's like you kind of feel like you need to pinch in, but as soon as he does, it's open season for Desmond Ritter to just walk in the end zone, and Rasul gets a chance to get him, but it's difficult for him. And then Rasul just is very, very clearly, visibly upset with Rashawn Gary for losing contain on that play and leaving him out there essentially, and not doing his 111th. And I think we'll get to that when we talk about the defense. But there was a lot of not doing your 111th in this game, as Matt LaFleur likes to say. But yeah, that was the play that swung the game the most. Anything you wanted to add on that, or do you want to talk about offense a little bit?
That's the big one. I think it's kind of but it was also just stresses. It was Ritter's first rushing touchdown of his career too.
He can scoot a little bit. We talked a little bit about it.
He can scoot a little bit, but they haven't really asked him to do it much until this game.
Yeah, they were because what you're saying is
well, they're not really doing it. I mean, yeah, he's tested well, but he hasn't really shown much running. He doesn't have very many attempts. But then, I have some notes on that later. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. It's of course.
Yeah, you were telling me earlier it's his first game ever, he had 6 carries for 34 yards, and then maybe a combined 5 carries until now or something. I'm sure you'll talk about it later. But let's talk a little bit about the offense moving forward, Dad. Or do you want to start with the defense? Which do you want to start with? because I think there are problems with both. There are pluses.
This is going to end depressing no matter which way we do it.
To me, it's like there are more negatives with the defense, but like a couple positives, and there are more positives with the offense, but a couple negatives. It depends how you want to end. Do you want to end happier with the offense? Let's end happier with the offense, and let's start with the defense
right.
because the defense was.
So then let's go. Should we go bad to good then in each section?
I don't know. We can go good to bad in defense because I think there's more. Let's get the good out of the way for the defense. Let's go good defense, bad offense, good offense, so we can end on at least something. Because, like we've said all season, the point of this season is mostly to see how Jordan Love looks, and I thought he looked pretty good in this game. Just like trying to get perspective on this game is that, the only thing that really matters is that Jordan Love looks good in this game, and I thought for the most part he looked pretty good in this game. I actually thought he looked better than the Chicago game, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But let's talk about the defense, Dad, and let's start with the good things. I don't have very much here, to be honest.
Mine's kind of short,
Mine's
too.
pretty brief. I think my good thing was Quay Walker. I thought had a really nice game. Stacked success after having a good game against Chicago last week, too. He was the Packers' leading tackler. He had the most stops on the day per PFF. Yes, he should have had an interception, but, it is what it is. Beggars can't be choosers when you're looking for positives in a game where the defense kind of got walked down a ton.
I thought I think was second in pressures on the team.
Oh, I hadn't seen that, but I was also going to say his average depth of tackle was 0.8 yards less than Devondre Campbell. So when you look at just like how the linebackers seem to perform against the run, he was making his tackles closer to the line of scrimmage. So that's a good sign for him. And that's essentially
he had four total pressures.
Yeah, and they were blitzing him a little bit. They were letting him get around the outside. I wish they would blitz him a little bit more in the A gap, B gap, but they were just kind of having him stunt around the outside a bunch, which worked. I think he got a hit as well. But yeah, so I thought Quay Walker was my one positive. I thought he looked good again. I understand it was. Imagine how bad this game would have been if he had missed this game with a concussion, is all I'm going to say. Because he was borderline not going to play in this game. But, yeah, so he was my positive. Dad, what did you think? What was your positive for this game?
So my positive is kind of similar. Well, I picked a player who in some ways had a good game. And I picked Kenny Clark, rushed the quarterback really well. So he's making disruptive plays. And PFF graded him out with an 80.3 for his pass rush. 6 pressures overall and included 1 sack.
Yeah.
However,
I thought he started.
Run grade was bad.
Go ahead. I thought he started the game so well, and then he just kind of the whole team kind of just wilted as I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Did they run out of steam? And that's something I have in some things that may have contributed to that. And overall, their pass rush grade of 73.1 by PFF as a team was even better than last week's against Chicago for their team pass rush grade, and they had 25 and they are credited with 25 pressures.
The Packers are credited with 25 pressures in this game.
Yeah,
boy, did it not feel like it, man. That because it felt like from the halfway through the second quarter on, or the second quarter, the whole second half almost felt like they were just not getting to Ritter at all. But I guess the numbers don't bear that out.
Well, I don't know how many of these are.
Multiple at once?
Multiple in the same play.
It's fair.
And I think there are. Well, you have, on the sack, there's, pressure by Preston, Kenny, and Gary, all on the same play that led to the sack by, I guess Gary and Kenny got the credit for that sack in the end, because Preston probably got a missed tackle for his efforts on that one as well, because he didn't quite get him down on that pressure. I don't know. But so I think they're getting, and I don't know what percentage of the Atlanta snaps had a pressure, which is a different measure. I have to dig for that a little bit.
Yeah, and it just felt like. Sorry, go ahead.
But in the fourth quarter, I don't know how many pressures they had. It was just.
Yeah, and it felt like they started the game really fast. I felt like maybe a lot of those pressures were happening in that second quarter, first half. But did they just run out of steam? I don't even know. Did they let those few big plays that they gave up on fourth down? I don't know. Should we just start going to the negatives? Do you have anything more positive you want to add?
Because I have some things that are kind of tied into, that sort of that may tie into that concept.
Okay, go ahead.
So I go for my bad?
Yeah, go for your bad, because I think let it all out. The therapy for the Packers' poor defense.
4, 5 different things, as opposed to having 2 for the good. Well, it's that kind of game. Number 1, Jair had a terrible game. It was QB?
It was perfect.
QB rating into his coverage?
Right, perfect passer rating when targeted, right?
Yes, gave up 158.3 perfect passer rating into his coverage. Most people, well,
it's not good.
By passer rating into coverage, it's got to be the worst, tied for the worst game of his career.
By definition, I would imagine.
By definition, right? Exactly.
It was bad. Drake London was punking him all day. It was like almost exclusively just Drake London, and also the touchdown.
The touchdown where he just bodies him out.
He just gets boxed out, and I've never seen Jair Alexander lose more like one-on-one, like at the catch point, or one-on-one, like just you and him. Or I've never seen him have such a bad day, and I'm obviously willing to give him some accident forgiveness because he's had so many good games, but I haven't seen him have such a bad day in a long time.
He was just not good. I mean,
it's not good.
He's still a good player, but it's not a good game.
No.
I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Should I just go through my whole list? Do you want to bounce back and forth a little bit?
Go through the whole list. Let's let it all out.
All right, here we go. I gotta loosen up for this one. So this idea of like, don't let their best player beat you. So Bijan did. They didn't slow him down. If they slowed him down, then that's pretty kind of scary.
He looked like prime Le'Veon Bell with more athleticism. This man looked like absolutely a freak.
I'd say he looked more like Barry Sanders.
That's how good he looked, or that's how good we made him look? I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
19 carries for 124 yards on the ground and 4 catches for 48 in the air.
Felt like more. I'm not going to lie to you. It felt like more.
It felt like more. He was just juking everybody.
Was it fair?
His ability to change direction and then change back the opposite direction on like 1 or 2 steps later was.
Is it fair to say
ankles.
that the Packers' best defense against him was just when Arthur Smith decided to not give him the ball for 3 plays in a row for some reason? I just felt like the only time the Packers even got to 3rd down or got to 4th down was just because they decided not to give Bijan the ball. And it was like, okay, thank you. We'll take that, I guess. But
I mean, they did stuff him once or twice, but they really have to have like nowhere for him to go if they. And that's the thing. If he's going up the middle, they have a chance if they clog it all up. But if he's going to the outside, got room to work with, it's like, I'll just juke this guy and run around him. But also, they got So Bijan was job number 1. Try not to get beat by this guy. But they didn't take away anybody.
I was going to say
like they stopped Ritter either.
Yeah.
Ritter had the 2nd best career game by ESPN's QBR, though not quite so good by PFF. It was only his 4th out of 6. Most ever yards rushing, 1st ever rushing TD. And then London caught 6 of 7 targets for 67 yards and a touchdown. He had 3 first downs after only getting 0 catches on 1 target last week against the Panthers.
Yeah.
And J.C. Horn got hurt during that game.
And the thing is, it's like, did they shut anything down? Like, what did they stop? What did they stop from the Falcons' offense?
The only thing you could say they kind of stopped was Tyler Algier.
Didn't have a great game.
Kyle Pitts didn't have a great game.
I mean, but that's it. Like, you let almost every facet of their offense. I mean, they were technically, I think, pretty good on 3rd down. I think they held them to 6 of 15. I believe the number was.
That doesn't help when they go 3 of 4 on 4th.
Hey, you're preaching to the choir. That's what my negative is. Can I talk about that? I mean, 3 of 4 on 4th down.
I have something about that too. But yeah, why don't you go talk about that?
I mean, 3 of 4 on 4th down. Let me pull it up. I had the numbers in front of me. So they allowed conversion. So the Falcons attempted 4th down from 4 yards out, 1 yard out, 4 yards out, 1 yard out. So this is according to sportsnews.com. A 4th and 1 should be converted 65.5% of the time. They let the Falcons go 2 of 2. A 4th and 4 should be converted 46.4% of the time. They let the Falcons go 1 of 2. So they're letting them convert at higher rates than the average team would. Let them go 3 of 4 overall, which is just bad. And then when you take a look at that, essentially it doesn't matter that you're holding them to 6 of 15 on third down if you're letting them go 3 of 4 on fourth down, because 9 of 15 essentially like keeping a drive alive, you're 9 of 15. So it's like it doesn't really matter. Like 9 of 15 might as well be great. Like it was bad. I mean, and the fourth downs were like they ran the same fourth down little pitch play to the right, the same thing twice. The exact same play on both 4th and 1s. Like, and they both worked perfectly fine.
I think somebody said it's like, it was just disrespectful how easily they thought it was going to be to get fourth down conversions.
Yeah.
We don't even need to, we just could just toss it 5 yards deep and then let them run for the first down.
Is it disrespectful if they're not wrong? Like, that they were manhandling us. They were mauling us in the run game all game long. And I mean, I have more negatives, but since that fourth down bled into it.
But I don't know I guess there are a couple players who could just get blown off the line. It was more that it was like,
I thought the defensive line was.
It's like playing tag with your kids.
Well, yeah,
but
you just run around
and they can't catch you.
But I thought the defensive line, I mean, the linebackers and safeties didn't tackle well either. But the defensive line, can I just put these stats out there? The defensive line was bad. I mean, I thought they were really bad. They only had 1 tackle for a loss all game. They only had 1 sack all game. Your middle linebackers, according to ESPN, totaled 31 tackles combined. Which means, you know what that means? That means they're getting to the second level almost every single time on you. And, like, I understand that they ran a lot of plays, but that's still insane. I mean, your 3 leading tacklers, who were Quay, Devondre Campbell, and Rudy Ford, had an average depth of tackle between them of 6.6 yards. So, like, your leading tacklers are tackling dudes 7 yards down the field almost every single time. Most guys with a depth that bad are safeties. I looked at last year's stats for average depth of target. No linebacker in the league had an average depth of target that bad.
Average depth of tackle.
Average depth of tackle. Thank you. Sorry, wrong ADOT. If you looked at Campbell's and Walker's, they would have been the worst and third worst average depth of tackle from last year amongst all linebackers, amongst all qualified linebackers. So I know it sounds like with all these amazing stats about the linebackers, I'd be crapping on the linebackers. But, I mean, they didn't play amazing. But if the D-line, that just mostly shows me that the D-line is getting just blown out of their gaps. And there were some plays where it's like Moses parting the Red Sea out there. Like, my goodness.
There are a couple.
Like, some of these rushing lanes were huge.
Yeah, and what I'm wondering is more, and I did see like Wooden getting like, oh, how far downfield is this guy? But other ones where they're just not playing gap sound. They're like, they're just penetrating a gap and leaving the other side wide open for a rush lane.
I mean, and just like not playing, like I think it just the amount of times they got gashed, I think just compounded like the problems. Because I think what was it, Nagler on Cheesehead TV was saying he was like they'd have 2 down linemen and they'd run it inside. They'd have 3 down linemen, they'd run it outside. 2 down linemen, run it inside. 3 down, and they just did that over and over and over again, and it worked every single time. So it's just like they weren't containing on the edges. The D linemen weren't beating their man. They were getting blown off the ball a ton. I mean, Atlanta's a very good rushing team. This is what they do. But like you certainly didn't slow them down very much. And I mean, can we talk about the fourth quarter? I don't know where to talk about this in negatives.
So I have some other. I could go back. I still wasn't done, but
okay.
Yeah, talk about
sorry,
the run D.
I did cut you off. Finish the rest of your negatives, and we'll talk about the fourth quarter last, because the fourth quarter I think can go. It's a negative for both offense and defense. Like it's amazing. It's so versatile.
So their overall run grade was 44.6 on D, as opposed to last week's. Obviously, fool's gold, 81.3 against Chicago. Run defense grade. One thing I would say in terms of what they do, please stop putting in all the backups at once and have none of the starters on the field.
Yes.
Why are you putting in Wooden and Brooks and they're both and taking out and they do this with edge rushers. They do it with a D line.
They do it with the edge rushers and the D line simultaneously. They would have a line of and Hollins actually graded out pretty well today, but they would have a D line of Hollins, Wooden, Brooks, and Enigbare, and I'm like, no wonder you're getting gashed. Like,
and
I'm
then
sorry,
but we need to do hurry up offense so these guys can't get off the field.
It's like, why are we not? I mean, obviously, it's easy to second guess after a loss like this, but why are we not staggering these guys?
But they do this all the time, and it's been bad process all the time to do it this way, and just they continue to do it, and then they get stuck in these situations where they're getting like no pressure on the quarterback for down after down after down, or they can't hold up to the point of attack against the run game down after down after down, and they just kind of get stuck with a kind of the weakest of all possible groups all in the field at once.
Yeah, and it's like, stagger the guys, because it's like,
yeah.
I understand you want to save your best guys for third down, but it doesn't matter if you're never getting to third down.
Or you never get to third down. And then, let's see, did I have some other things on here?
I mean,
you went into you want to do fourth quarter. I did have one thing that was things that made us think, which is still kind of actually a negative in what I had.
Mean, if I could just say another thing, just to illustrate how just annoying this game was. I mean, you might even argue that the Falcons should have won this game outright, which, fair enough. They had way more yards. They had way more time of possession. They had way more everything. But they only had 2 drives that were less than 8 plays.
Yeah. Oh, I have this down. I was like, plays per drive, not counting the 2 kneel downs, 1 for each team. Green Bay 4.7, Atlanta 9.
I mean, it bears out in the time of possession.
Yards per drive for Atlanta 49.6, for Green Bay 24.9. Drives with no first downs. Green Bay 5 of 11, Atlanta only 1 of 11.
The thing is, when you look at it like that, it's like Green Bay should have lost this game outright. But I'm watching the game, and they should have won. And honestly, maybe the more you look at it, it's like, okay, they should have stolen the game from Atlanta, to be honest. But they let Atlanta steal it back from them, and so it's like maybe they deserve to lose with how awfully one-sided these are. But they got some crucial stops in the red zone early. They forced field goals. They did force field goals. They got some big plays, and they
had
hit
3 turnover-worthy plays. Atlanta gave them 3 turnover-worthy plays. They only converted 1 of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a game of inches. It really is.
But then they gave up 4 straight scoring drives to close the game, essentially, except for the kneel down Atlanta had at the end. That was the killer.
Yeah,
the 4 straight scoring drives.
I mean, let's talk. Do you want to talk about the fourth quarter? Speaking of 4 straight scoring drives to close the game.
I mean, yeah, I just dropped that one in there. So,
I mean,
do you have some fourth quarter specific notes, or should we just wing it?
I have some fourth quarter specific notes. I'm pulling them up as we speak. But so let's paint the scene. So Packers are up 24-12 going into the fourth quarter. Now the Falcons have the ball and they are about to score. So like the fact that when you say like, oh, they were up 24-12 and they blew a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter for the first time since the 2014 NFC Championship game. I don't know if you knew that. I saw
somebody about the Seattle game.
That was fun to think about.
Thank you very much for bringing that. And while you're at it, why don't you give me a paper cut and pour lemon juice
on it. Yeah, I know, right? But anyway, fourth quarter, I have it right in front of me. Falcons, 110 total yards, 8 minutes and 41 seconds time of possession. Packers, 7 total yards, 3 minutes and 19 time of possession. I don't know how they held the ball for 3 minutes and only got 7 yards. Feels like they should have had the ball even. Feels like they had the ball even less time, honestly, than that. But yeah, Dad, they just got absolutely mauled in the fourth quarter. Like you were saying, they were up 12 points to start the fourth. The Falcons scored on like the first or second play of the fourth quarter, and then the Packers go 3 plays, punt, 3
plays, 2 yards.
3 plays, 2 yards, punt, 3 plays, 9 yards, punt, and then 4 plays, 4 yards. 4 plays, no
0
yards.
I think it was actually 3 plays, 5 yards in the end on that second one.
Oh, I thought the second one they got to 3rd and 1 though, was what I was thinking. That it says
they did get to 3rd and 1, but then they lost yards.
It's 5 yards because of the Jordan Love messed up sneak.
That's true. That's true. The yards they lost because of the false start where he.
Which maybe we shouldn't just not count that because they might have gotten it if that. I mean,
chef's kiss. On
we'll
that
talk
one.
about the. We're not talking about the offense right now, but defense wise, like, and defense. You look at the drives that. I mean, you were talking about the drives that the Falcons had to end this game. Let's look at it. You had 8 plays 75 yards touchdown. This is in the third quarter. Then 8 plays 44 yards field goal. Then 12 plays 65 yards field goal, and then end of game. And so yes, you do well to hold them.
And even before that first touchdown, it was 13 plays 60 yards for a field goal.
And so you do a good job to hold them to field goal on 3 of those 4 drives. Like, I commend you, but you're letting them march down the field into field goal range every single time, and you're not. I mean, it's a chicken or the egg thing. The offense doesn't help you because they're not taking any time off the clock, and you're dying once you're back out there again. But the defense, like, you're not getting them off the field at all. Like, you're not getting any stops on these 4th downs and 3rd downs, like we already talked about. But Dad, yeah, that 4th quarter, I mean, that's the game right there. Like, you get one more play, you get one more stop on 4th down. You do one more thing, like one more little thing, and you win that game, and they don't do any of them, really. So maybe they deserve to lose this game. I don't know. What do you? Anything to say about the 4th quarter?
It just felt like you only needed like one more play, and you had about, I don't know, 5 to 8 opportunities to make that one more play that could have made the difference in the game.
Yeah, and it's like,
I mean, there are 2 4th down. There are 2 4th down conversions
on just the 4th
I guess
quarter,
they
right?
didn't have the.
Well, 2 4th down conversions just in the 4th quarter, I think.
Just in the 4th quarter, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's
the
right.
4th and 4 for the touchdown, then the 4th and 1 on the last drive, I think, right?
Yeah. Yes, because they did 4th and 1, and it's already like a 40-yard field goal. It's
yeah,
like,
Arthur Smith's kind of a crazy person for that. I kind of appreciated it. It was kind of sick to watch that he just had such massive stones, but
we're gonna run this even and risk losing the game.
That's how little they respected our defense. They knew they were going to get it. Why? What's the risk? What's the risk? We haven't had it. We haven't held them for like 0 or negative yards all game. Look, we haven't had a tackle. We've had 1 tackle for loss all game. They're getting positive yards every time. They ran the same play too. That was the same play. That was the same pitch play, right? And just free.
And we weren't even close.
No. That went. I think it went for 13 yards. We weren't even close to close.
Well, one of the 4th down conversions was that isolation of Bijan out wide on.
No, that was
Devondre.
That was a 3rd down, I believe. Was
that a third one?
That was like a 3rd and 3. Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking that was another 4th down. One of their 4th down conversions.
I'm pretty sure that was a 3rd down, but people have a lot of problems. Have you seen people are very mad about that play online? I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, talking about you've got to have some ability to avoid the pick plays by not being all at the same level.
It's like that's why you can't.
Maybe they could have switched who was on him.
Maybe
and not have it be a linebacker.
I mean, I think based on people are saying that you can't just press everyone at the line because they're just going to get picked. And he has to play that far off.
Legal pick play within the first however many yards.
But here's the thing: I would rather make them set that pick, make them try and pick me, than just give them the free underneath slant for 8 yards. And I understand, obviously Joe Barry knows more about defensive football than I'll ever know in my entire life, but I think the biggest thing, the biggest thing is,
I'm not actually
entirely confident now. But here's the thing. I think as soon as you see that matchup and you see that either he's playing off or either that you feel like he has to play off, call timeout right that instant because it's too big a play in the game. And maybe they get it anyways. Maybe they just run it up the middle for 5 yards. But I think it's just a process thing. And I don't think Matt LaFleur had his best game. I mean, he did a good job scheming up the offense, I thought, but time management was bad. We'll talk about special teams later. I don't even know whose fault that is. I mean, it's bad. But do you want to move over to the offense, Dad, since we're talking LaFleur and we're talking about stuff like that? Is there anything else you wanted to say about the defense? I mean, the defense was bad. The run defense was really bad. They didn't stop anything. The TLDR is, they did a good job holding the Falcons to field goals at times. I think that's the only real other positive you can say.
Might be the best thing they did.
Yeah,
was holding them to field goals on a lot of those drives.
But it felt like the Falcons were just getting whatever they wanted. I mean, they had over 450 yards of offense or something like that. I mean, they had what was it? They had an absurd. They had 27 first downs in this game. That's banana pants crazy. 27 of their 78 plays went for first downs. I mean, they had 446 total yards.
Just the play disparity was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, they had the ball for 13 more minutes in the game. They ran 31 more plays than the Packers. They had over 200 more yards than the Packers. They had a full yard per play advantage. They had almost 100 more passing yards. They had over 100. They had almost 130 more rushing yards. I mean, they had. The more you look at it, you're like, how the hell were the Packers winning this game in the fourth quarter? Like, the more you look at it, it's like, okay, maybe the Falcons were just better, and the score was a bit of an anomaly that kind of like coursed, like,
eventually worked itself out.
Yeah, itself to like who was actually playing better. So it's like, fair enough. But Dad, let's talk a little bit about the offense. The defense was bad.
Okay,
the offense
was. Do you want to get the rest of the bad out of the way and finish with a little bit of good?
Let's do the bad of the offense and talk about the good of the offense, because, like we said, I think the biggest thing this season, keep in perspective, is how Love looks. Other than that, the wins and the losses, like, obviously it's really annoying when they lose a game like this, but the wins and losses are secondary to me this year. And I think Atlanta's a good team, so it's tough. But anyway, bad on offense first, Dad. Do you want to start us off?
Bad on offense. Okay, here we go. Oh, that's yours. I got to scroll down. There we go.
I can start us off if you want.
So,
go ahead.
Blocking team grade by PFF of 50.5 for the team. Below average and worse than last week. So I think it really felt the loss of Bakhtiari and Jenkins in this game. Dylan only had kind of reflecting that, Dylan only had 3.7 yards per attempt, which was better than last week's 1 point whatever. But Wilson and Taylor also, they only got 6 yards on 4 attempts. So it's not like somebody else was doing better instead of him.
Do you think it's much better with Jones? Or do you think the blocking was just that bad? Because the blocking was bad. Dylan was bad. Dylan's one of my negatives, just a spoiler alert. But
yeah, well, I added some extra Dylan negatives to your section there. You might notice.
Yeah. Oh, man. I can't wait to get to the positives. The negatives are bumming me out.
So, yeah, and there's actually, I don't think you necessarily have this in your Dylan bad notes, so I'm just going to say it because I meant to write it down as something. He falls down without contact and is able to try to get back up more than anybody I remember seeing.
I've never seen a man so big fall over so much. I don't know. It's like someone said.
He's down. Oh, he hasn't been touched yet. He can get back up. It's like, why is he down?
Yeah, that's a good question because I've seen so many things on Twitter. It's like he runs like he has like shoes that are 2 sizes too big. He runs like his shoelaces are untied. He runs like someone like shouted in his ear and like spooked him a little bit, and he's a little off balance. Like I've seen so many because the big play of the game is that second to last drive, you're 3rd and 1, and honestly you shouldn't have even been 3rd and 1. Dylan probably should have gotten the first down on 2nd down when he was rushing. It's 3rd and 1. It's not blocked well, but they run like to the left side, and Dylan just trips and falls. And like falls short of the line, and like if he had just fallen better, if he had just fallen half a yard further, it's a first down. Like if he had just fallen when he hit the line of scrimmage, but he starts to stumble almost as soon as he gets the ball, and he goes down. It's 4th down, and then we can talk about I don't know the botched quarterback sneak where apparently Love said he accidentally gave the wrong keyword. This is what we talked about all offseason about having a young team and having growing pains. Not getting a yard on 3rd and 1 with one of your veteran players, that's not growing pains. Like I understand it's not blocked very well, but you're one of the vets of the team. You need to execute. Like you're the one of the ones that's expected to execute. That's supposed to be your calling card. You were like one of the best players in terms of success rate last year in the league. Get a win on that play. Get a yard. I was so frustrated with Dylan after this game because I was just like, and that wasn't even the only time he fell in this game, and it's not necessarily on him, but the play Elton Jenkins gets hurt, Dylan falls in his knee, and it's not about that being his fault, but it's just another instance where he tripped and fell on a play that should have had way more yards, and it's like, what's going on out here?
And because he wasn't touched again, he was able to get up and get the extra yard on review to get the first down on that play. And
here's some things for Dylan. I mean, like you said, 3.7 yards per carry, back-to-back games he's under 4. He was even worse last week. Yards after contact per attempt, I mean, this year so far, it's the lowest it's been. It's actually been lower every single year of his career. It's in his rookie year, it was 3.44. 2021 it was 3.14. 2022 is 2.9. Now he's all the way down to 2.32. He's 50th in the league. These are per PFF. He has not had a breakaway run yet this season. His longest run of the year so far is 8 yards. He has not had a carry past 8 yards this season. Today he had multiple carries for no gain at all. The most of his carries went for about 2 yards. It's not good. It's just bad. And I know that it's not blocked up perfect, but it's also not blocked up perfect for Aaron Jones either. And he does more with it. And make a move, make a play. I don't know. It sounds like a meathead take, just make a play. But at the same time, it's 1 yard. Like, just get the yard, please.
Just stay on your feet until you hit somebody.
And even when he does hit somebody, like, even then, I don't know. It's a contract year for Dillon. He's a great, like, presence on the team. He's a fan favorite, but I don't know if, like, as a running back, he's that inspiring.
Much for him to be better than he is so far this year.
Yeah.
He was better as a rookie and second-year player.
2021,
we're like, oh, he's better than Jones this year.
2021, I agree. I was like, the offense is functioning better with Dillon in there. And, there's an argument to be had that last year and this year, the run blocking has been worse, and he has been worse. So it's either does he need a good run blocking line to be better, or was he just benefiting from having a good run blocking line? Either way, if you're a running back who needs a good run blocking line, that's not exactly a ringing endorsement. I don't know. Anything else you want to say on Dillon, Dad? I don't want to beat a dead horse here.
Well, I'll just say that just one thing to hope for so far is that his breakaway percentage is early in the year, and there are a lot of other good running backs that don't have any breakaway runs yet so far after 2 games, including like Josh Jacobs for the Raiders or Kyron Williams for the Rams, who just had a great game against San Francisco, but still doesn't have a breakaway run yet. So, I mean, it could still happen. But yeah, as I wrote in your notes, full-on Blutarski, 0.0 so far this year.
It's just so frustrating because we've seen him play better. And short yardage situation is supposed to be what he's good at. And the fact that it was such a high leverage short yardage situation. And I just think, what if they had just gotten that first down? Because would they move the ball downfield? If they kick a field goal, they win. I don't know.
Yeah, but that wasn't the only thing that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Went wrong there. Oh, but in terms of went wrong there, do you want to? Shall I go on to some of my other things?
What else do you feel like they need to work on offense? Because I think there were a lot of positives on offense, but let's just get the negatives out of the way.
The other thing, the tight end usage in this game.
You didn't like the tight end usage, or what were you feeling?
Musgrave started out with a couple catches early, and then kind of disappeared.
They never got him the ball much.
He got the 2 catches, and I think those were those the first quarter? They were pretty early on. And then DeGuara, he has the rather rough combination of a negative 1.5 average depth of target, coupled with only 4 yards after catch per reception.
We've said he's got no juice. He's got no juice. I don't know how else to say it. When he gets the ball, you can see he just doesn't move at the same speed as the players on defense do. The players on defense are they're catching him easy. He's not pulling away from anybody. He's not breaking any tackles. I don't know. It's not great.
But also, and I have to wait. I have not seen the all-22. I'd like to see what's going on with Musgrave's targets and usage as the game wore on, and why wasn't he featured more? Besides the very beginning of the game.
I think without the use of all 22, you can ask why were there not more designed plays for him? Because they had that clearly designed rollout right to him that he took up the right sideline. They went for a massive gain of 20, 25 yards or something like that. And then they didn't have, I felt a lot of those types of design plays to get a guy running with the ball in space like they did possibly last game. Like last game, you had the throwback screen to Jones. You had some stuff to Musgrave. You didn't have anything necessarily like that with like just short ball in space. I mean, I get you don't have Jones this game, so that's a fair counter argument. So you don't have your best player at that, but I thought they could have done some more design stuff, and I would like to see a tight end screen for Musgrave at some point because I feel like he could do well with that kind of touch. But I feel like that's getting like overly nitpicky, asking for specific types of plays.
His last target was just a couple minutes into the second quarter.
Yeah, I mean, he's already one of your more dynamic playmakers on offense, and it's hard because Reed was doing a really good job with the targets he got. I thought Wicks was doing really well with the targets he got, but
it's more about But then it started to bog down, and you needed to try to figure something else out as a game late in the game. Anyway, and then that was kind of the last sort of bad thing. Then I had some what I thought were kind of interesting things that I don't know if we want to do those before we get to the good and end with the good. There was a snap problem that we talked about already on that fourth down conversion where Love gave the wrong key. Nyman and Walker splitting time at left tackle.
That was my things to watch.
It's kind of a mystery, yeah. So Nyman had 12 snaps, 8 run, 4 pass. Walker had 45 snaps, 17 run, 28 pass. Hidden in Nyman snaps is 1 rep at right tackle instead of Tom, and I'd have to go back and look to find what that was. Like, oh, Tom wasn't in for play? When was that?
Yeah, and the thing for me is like...
And Nyman graded... So there's this idea that, is Nyman in there for a run? But Nyman actually graded out better than Walker in both the run and pass pro.
I wonder where they go next week if Bakhtiari can't play. It's also important to note, it's like this wasn't just... There were also plays where Rasheed Walker was like the extra lineman. He's like a big tight end, essentially. Like he's like the U Bacon looks. And for those plays, Nyman was a left tackle. And the 2 questions was like you're doing that makes sense, but also you're changing out your left tackle. It seems at random. No real explanation as to why. But also like if you're Rasheed Walker, I mean, obviously I think the coaches probably know these players better than anyone, but wouldn't you think that if it's his first game starting at left tackle in his career, just maybe leave him at left tackle and don't have him bouncing out to tight end and bouncing around? Like, let's just keep it simple for him. I don't know. I'm second guessing there, but that seems logical to me that you wouldn't want to add undue stress to a player in a big time role in their first spot in the NFL and making him play multiple positions. I don't know. That's just kind of what I thought about it. And then there's no real explanation to me that I can understand as to why they're splitting Nyman and Walker there. Just pick one. Just pick one and play him. If you think Nyman's better, play him. If you think Walker's better, play him. But I understand Walker started rough. Like I think Walker settled into the game as the game went, and then at the end of the game kind of fell apart again too. But like the first like possession and a half, 2 possessions, like Walker was not great. And then I thought it was like better in the middle of the game. And then at the end when Jenkins was out too, it just like, I mean, the protection was still okay, but any other negatives?
There was that one miscommunication, I think, between Walker and Jenkins about, I think, who should be picking up that free rusher.
Yeah,
that came in for the 1 sack.
I thought Nyman was missing blocks in the run game too. I mean, neither had great games in my opinion. I don't know. They were fine. It's hard asking, like, I don't know. It's good to have these backups, I guess. It's good to have the problem of like, okay, both of these guys are solid at least. They were solid, If you have a backup left tackle who's solid, that's a luxury, I would say. But Dad, should we talk a little bit about positives on offense? Let's get to the good. Well, the thing is, we're going to end on bad again when we talk about special teams. Would you rather talk about the special teams first and end on positive?
That'll be short.
It'll be a nice, solid little morsel of black licorice.
Turn. One little turn at the end of the episode.
Yeah, exactly. Do you want to just talk about the special teams really quick so we can end good, or what do you want to do?
So the decision to punt from Atlanta's 30.
Can we rewind? First. You have the first drive of the game. You have a 50. Keep in mind that if they had scored 3 more points, they win. You have a 51-yard field goal. You take a delay of game And I don't know if you saw this, but they asked Matt LaFleur about this. And he says, like, that's on me to not get the timeout, but it's also on, like the operation, I think he said, looked like they were going out on a Wednesday at practice. So he felt like there was a lack of urgency from the kicking team. Here's the thing.
You know
obviously,
who cares?
Call timeout.
He's the man in charge. If they're not doing it right and say, "Oh man, you guys, what are you doing? Punishing them because they did it wrong, and so you're gonna just let them,
call timeout. Call timeout.
Sway the wind."
But here's the thing:
call timeout and fix it.
Not only do you not call timeout, you take the delay of game, 56-yarder. You don't kick the 56-yarder. This is mind-boggling to me. Like you were saying,
that's the part that absolutely So you screwed up. You took the penalty, and you had the other penalty. It's like you went from after that pass interference to being like a 45-yard field goal and like losing yard, and then a penalty. So it's a 51-yard field goal, and then 56. Why don't you kick the 56-yard field goal?
For reference, listeners, they're at the Falcons' 38. They're at the Falcons' 38-yard line, and they punt. And they punt a touchback. They gain 18 yards.
So it's an 18-yard difference. There's, I wanted to actually, I'm going to say it anyway. There is no excuse. There is no excuse.
No.
I don't care. You're trying to pin them. None of the numbers support that.
All the numbers
support.
In the year of our Lord 2023, there is no reason you should ever be punting from your opponent's 38 unless your kicker's not playing. You were indoors. It was 56 yards. You were on turf.
He kicked a 57-yarder in the preseason.
The whole point that the Niners had their rookie kicker kick a 57-yarder pseudo outdoors at the Rams stadium. Like, it's not a rookie kicker thing. It's not like he can't kick a thing. The whole point of getting rid of, I mean, obviously money also notwithstanding, but the main point you moved on from Mason Crosby was because you thought his leg strength was waning and you couldn't hit the long kicks anymore. What was the point of making the move if you're not going to let him kick makeable kicks? 56 yards is like, I expect NFL kickers to make 56 yards.
Like
this wasn't 59.
65.
This wasn't 65 yards. It was indoors, 56 yards on turf.
Yeah.
Why are we not kicking that?
It's indefensible. I'd have to look at the analytics if you don't kick it there, you should probably go for it, even though it's 4th and 17.
Yeah. The thing is, like, I'm just, more than anything else,
throwing points away.
More than anything else, that actually, I think that frustrates me, just thinking about it, more than anything else, because I think I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened.
It's just bad process, bad decision making, choosing something for the wrong reasons that actively give you a lower probability of success by doing it that way. You might get away with it once in a while, but that doesn't make it a good decision.
3 more points and they win the game. I know it's like not that simple because it changes a lot of things going forward, but it's
butterfly effect, schmutterfly effect.
Don't punt from your opponent's 38. It's not that complicated. Besides that, though, Carlson looked good. I mean, he looked good when they let him kick. I mean, that I don't know. He didn't miss. Nixon, is doing crazy things.
He's a crazy person.
But the thing is, it's
9 yards deep.
He had a return for 30 and a return for 25. So it's like it's fine. He's doing crazy person things back there. If it was anyone else, I wouldn't want them to do it. But I'll take the sliver of probability that he houses one is worth it if you're returning it to the 20 to me. Like that's worth it if you're at least getting to the 20. If you're a guy that dynamic and there's a chance you take it back for a big return, it's worth it. If like otherwise you're getting to the 20. That's a fine trade for me. But Dad, anything else you wanted to rant about special teams, or do you want to talk about the offense?
I really wanted to rant about that field goal turned down. That was the one that actually bugged me the most. I think out of the entire game when it happened. The dogs are looking at me. What are you yelling about?
Yeah. And it's like I looked, I was trying to count. I was like, did I count wrong? Like, is that not 56 yards? Like, is it 66? Like, did I miss like a 10? Like, am I counting from the wrong spot? No, just didn't want to. And it's like, what was the whole point of any of this? Of like changing kickers if you're going to be scared to kick a 50? Whatever. Offense, Dad.
If Crosby was there, they still should have gone for it.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. 100%. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. But, Dad, we wanted to end on a positive. Let's talk about the positives on offense. To me, I have a few. Let's end with Jordan Love, because I thought Jordan Love played, honestly, I know the numbers aren't quite as good, but I thought he played better in this game than he did in the Bears game. I don't know if that's a hot take or not. I'm going to start, though, with first 3 quarters of this game were good from the offense. First drive of the game was a punt like we talked about, but it shouldn't have been. It should have been a field goal. That's not on the offense. That's on the coaching. That's on coaches for not kicking a field goal there. Second drive of the game, you punt, you give up a sack. That's not great. But then you get 24 straight points over 4 drives. You go touchdown, field goal, touchdown, touchdown, with drives of 11 plays, 84 yards, 10 plays, 44 yards, 6 plays, 65 yards, and 4 plays, 78 yards. It's the second straight game where you come out of halftime and go touchdown, touchdown to start the third quarter. That's great. There's a lot of positives for the offense in this game, Dad. I thought the rookie pass catchers looked really good. I think you had something about them.
Yeah.
Let me tee you up for that one. What you got in the rookie pass catchers?
So what I had were the rookie wide receivers. Jaden Reed led the team in targets with 8. His first career touchdowns, which he got 2 for 4 catches for 37 yards. Rating when targeted of 122.9. And once again he led the team in snaps from the slot. He is their slot receiver, and he is like looking good.
He looks like a guy.
The more I watch him play, it's like the more I'm able to get over the fact that they didn't draft Jackson Smith and Jigba in the first round. Because I'm like,
that's me.
Reed's good.
That's Reed's me. The more good. I watch both him and I watch Lucas Van Ness, because Lucas Van Ness had a good game in this game too. I thought, but we didn't mention him earlier. But I thought he played well in this past game.
Yeah, it's too bad that he hurt his elbow and was out for a little while, and I didn't really notice him.
He was able to come back in at least, or at least try to come back in.
Another rookie wide receiver, Dontavian Wicks, with his first career touchdown catch, and he had his man beat on the first possession, so the guy had to just grab him and take him down for that DPI.
Yeah, and on the flea flicker on the first
40-some yard gain.
Can I say I do love the flea flicker call. I do love the flea flicker call.
But the kid was like, okay, this is awesome.
Yeah,
first play of the game.
A good flea flicker first play of the game. People have done that to us a billion times. I feel like the Packers have got with that first play of game flea flicker.
The Falcons paid him back with a trick play later in the game.
Yeah.
But Wicks also had, just to his touchdown, that he had 2 catches on 4 targets for 40 yards. He seems to be the third wideout in the depth chart. With Watson out, he was second to Dobbs in snaps out wide.
I would say he's the third. You mean the third outside?
Outside receiver.
Yes.
Third outside receiver. Ahead of Toure, 12-7. Had a kind of a nice 2.5 yards per route run. His rating when targeted is 125. And his touchdown catch showed some of the traits that I really liked of his coming out of Virginia, with a really nice change of direction and running through contact.
He's got a really strong base
on that touchdown.
A really strong base. Him and Reed. Yeah. Reed for his size as well. Hard to get down. Like he's got the end around. Let's talk about Reed a little bit, because one of those touchdowns is all him. It's just pop pass,
speed around the corner,
run around the corner, and I don't know how he got there. I have no idea how he got there. I thought for sure that thing was shut off, and he just turns and he's gone. And it's like, we saw this during training camp.
Maybe the Packers are right about his 40 time being 4.37.
Maybe, but there was one of the plays, like the first plays we saw of someone smuggling out video training camp was a little end around to Jaden Reed, and it was like, ooh, he's got a little burst there.
He got some burst, yeah.
He's got something there. But yeah, he looked really good in this game. And then the second touchdown, he did a good job selling the fake that he was blocking. And then Love put a nice ball in him.
Yeah, and then the defense back had no chance after that.
And Wicks, people have been saying...
I'm excited about our young pass-catching group.
Yeah, and if they can get Watson healthy...
for years to come.
If they can get Watson healthy and have that deep speed element added to this team, that would be huge. And Wicks, people have been talking about how Wicks looked really good on tape last week and how he was getting open. And, it does say something that they designed that flea flicker first play of the game to go to him. They trust him to beat his man deep, and he did. and Terrell was forced to just bring him down. And I'm adding the 2 pass interference penalties yardage to Jordan Love's totals. I've told everyone that was open and he hit him. That was a good throw. I'm adding it to his totals. You can't stop me. They got the yards out of it.
On the official Tommy stat charts,
the Tommy box score has him for like 200 and something yards. It's like an extra 87, I think. But Dad, speaking of Jordan Love, is there anything else positive you want to talk about? Should we end with him? Because like we said at the beginning of the year, go ahead.
I did have one more thing, and that was it was an improved game from Josh Myers this week after having a rough game last week, where I felt like he really did poorly in the run blocking last week and missed a number of assignments. But he had the best run block grade on the team per PFF this week among the offensive line, actually among the whole team. I think even among the other blockers, like when you got tight ends and wide receivers blocking, he had the best grade. And it wasn't really noticed that much, so it was like,
no,
that's a good thing.
Definitely. And the team as a whole didn't run well, so it's like best run blocking grade on the team might not mean a ton.
Damning with fate praise.
I was going to say the team was not blocking the run well. The team wasn't running the ball well, but this is the positive section. We're saying positive. And yes, I thought Myers was a lot better this week. But Dad, like we said before the season started, the big thing is just how Jordan Love looks. So let's talk a little bit about Jordan Love's play in this game because I thought he was pretty good. I'm just going to read off some stats for you, and then I'll bounce off of you. Jordan Love in this game, 14 of 25, so 56% completion percentage, which is not great. I think that is something he maybe needs to work on a little bit. 151 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like I said, I'm adding 87 yards worth of pass interference on that. But you can make the argument that with one of the touchdowns being a pop pass, you can subtract that. So, a little bit good, a little bit bad, a little column A, a little column B. This is according to RBSDM.com. This week, he was 3rd in EPA per play, 0.405, expected points added per play. He was 10th in success rate, 55.2%. He did have the 3rd worst completion percentage and 3rd worst completion percentage over expected, which kind of takes into account if a player's throwing lots of 3rd and longs, like their completion percentage should be lower than a player that's throwing on 1st and 10 a lot. But even with that, he was not doing particularly well. According to PFF, he did have an 8.2 average depth of target, which would have been 11th in the league last year if it was over the course of a whole season. So he threw a bit less downfield than last week. Last week was up at 10. And then he had 2.47 seconds to throw, which would have been second fastest last year. Not that he had 2.47 seconds, but that's how quickly he was getting the ball out on today. And then I think, I just want to also add the context. Didn't have his wide receiver 1, didn't have his running back 1 and best player, Aaron Jones. Didn't have the entire left side of his line after about halftime with neither of Bakhtiari or Jenkins playing. And I think with all of those caveats, I think, he played a very good game. According to Danny Kelly of The Ringer, this is through 2 weeks. He's 3rd in air yards per attempt with 9.5 behind only Tua and Jalen Hurts. And then he's 2nd in EPA per dropback behind only Tua. He also had the longest rush of his career today for 24 yards and showed a lot more burst than I thought he had. But Dad, I've been monologuing for a little bit.
He's also been very bold in his running. You saw what
I want that man to go out of bounds, please. Please slide.
LaFleur's just like, please slide. It's like, I think we needed a little bit of a little juice or whatever.
I think he said. What do you think about that? A little Favre to him, huh?
That's a little. People said it's like a little bit. He's a little bit of Favre in there.
Yeah, but what'd you think about that? What'd you think about Jordan Love's play as a whole? What'd you think about any of those numbers? Sorry dear listener, if I just kind of read those off super quick, but I think, it's important to know, he was throwing the ball downfield a little bit, a lot of incompletions in there. I think, to me, if I'm looking at a very granular view, I thought he was great for, the first 3 quarters. I thought the third to last drive was, the one bad drive, in my opinion, and that was the one where he missed Dobbs kind of running free on a post to the right because he was throwing to Wick's left. And I think if you slow it down, the safety hadn't committed until he started to throw, and so it's hard to pick a side. But at the same time, Dobbs was open and probably would have scored a touchdown if he threw that, and he missed Wicks. And then he immediately almost throws just would have been back-breaking pick 6 to Terrell.
Trying to get.
Yeah, and that was to Malik Heath, who hadn't been playing much to that point.
Heath one-on-one against
I don't know
corner.
That's the matchup you want against a all-pro level corner, your UDFA rookie wide receiver who hasn't played much all game. And so I don't know if maybe they weren't on the same page too, but that was an ugly throw. That was bad. And then, second to last drive of the game, they don't give him a chance to throw, and they go run, and then Dylan trips on 3rd and 1. And then the 4th drive of the game, I mean, to me, people were saying, like, oh, he didn't come up clutch. It's like, okay, 50 seconds, like 90 yards to drive, or like 80 yards, or like, not, I guess they need a field goal. So like 50 yards to drive, 50 seconds, no timeouts, no left side of your line, no wide receiver 1, no running back 1. Let's have reasonable expectations. Obviously, you'd like to see him at least move the ball a little bit and not go 4 plays, no yards, get a completion at least maybe somewhere. But I don't know. I feel like I don't count that drive as a major like bad drive to me. Dad, sorry,
yeah,
I took a lot of the...
It would have been nice to see something from him to get a couple completions, or 1 first down or something.
Just some kind of momentum there. But I took a lot of the talking points we had for that. Dad, what did you think about Love's game? Because I think his performance is always every week. Just the most important thing is how he played.
Yeah, I mean it's still good. He's still. What did I have? I think his QBR was better in this game than the Chicago game, but his quarterback rating was not as good. So it kind of depends on which rating system you're using. I think some had this as his better game, and some had the first game as his better game. One thing about the season so far, he's doing well. You mentioned how fast he was getting the ball out, and so far, where's my note about that? He's mostly been doing kind of a good job of getting out on time, and he's 8th in the league so far this season in percentage of dropbacks with a pass in less than 2.5 seconds. Now he does. I would like to see him bring his completion percentage up a little bit more. That's the thing that.
Yeah, it's not like. I don't think it's as big a deal as some people are making it. But, you would just like to see it not be, 55% is, very low. Very, very, very low. That'd be, lower tier of the league. So let's just get that back to average, at least. I think average is fine.
But it is kind of amazing that his EPA per play is still so good.
I think part of that's just he's thrown for 6 touchdowns, and that's,
and he had, I guess... One turnover worthy play. The one,
yeah, but EPA per play doesn't take.
No,
into
but
account
I'm just. I know we're not.
Yeah,
that doesn't affect EPA per play. But I'm just thinking about overall in terms of he's got 6 touchdowns and no picks, and maybe he has 3 turnover worthy throws for the season. Still,
I think 1 last week and 1 this week, right? I think just 1 last week.
Was it just 1 last week and 1 this week?
I believe so, yeah. And so 2. And I thought he played really well through those 3 quarters in this game. The throw to Dobbs on the right sideline. I mean, that's a professional throw. And even the throw to Toure on that 4th down on the last drive of the game.
Yeah.
That's a freaky throw. That was superhuman throw.
He was not open, and it's throwing it well before he has a break. It was literally the only chance he had, and it was going to be a really great catch by Toure.
With the guy in his face, wrapped around a defender. Toure's not even out of his break yet. Sidearm throw, 4th and 10, gotta have it.
Yeah, I mean, and it was he put it the only place he had on the field, I think, to try to get a completion while he was about to get lit up.
I'm almost glad Toure dropped it, because if they had just gotten a procedural penalty on that, I would have been even more mad.
And then it would have been, the backup 15 yards, whatever, 4th and 15.
Yeah, 4th and 15. Oh man.
Yeah. So he did have only 1 turnover worthy play.
Yeah, it wasn't a perfect game for Love. He had some misses. He missed Wicks on an over to the left sideline late in the game. Like you said, that last drive they didn't get a completion. The third to last drive, he had a couple. That was the one I was talking about. A couple misses. That the play to Terrell that he almost. That would have been a blemish. That would have been a pick 6.
Oh, if he housed that one.
Yeah, and then I'm trying to remember if there were any other. Coming to mind, no other big misses are coming to mind. That's what I'm saying. I thought he played a good game. I thought he played actually better than he did against Chicago. They lost the game. They were playing a team that's probably better than them on the road, and
well, at least when they don't have Jones, Bakhtiari. I think Jones
without their 4 best offensive players. It's tough. But yeah, anything else you wanted to say about the Packers offense and Jordan Love specifically, or should we wrap this up and talk about our player of the week?
So why don't we just wrap this up?
All right, who's your player of the game?
I had trouble with this.
I know, right? I'll go first. I had Jaden Reed.
Right. And so I saw you had Reed, and I was thinking I was going to go somewhere different. And I'm trying to decide. So there's Quay Walker. Had a lot of tackles. Had second of the team in pressures but dropped a pick. Kenny Clark, who led the team in pressures, was really disrupting their offense in the first half, and no missed tackles, but had a bad run grade. So in the end,
well, I think I found your mistake as you're looking for players on defense. I think that was your first mistake, was looking for your player of the game on that side of the ball.
Oh, that could be.
The other play that frustrated me that I forgot about was Savage just getting mossed because he jumped 2 whole inches in the air.
Well, he was trying to recover after biting on that.
But he was still right there.
He caught up, and he caught up at the last second. I think I'm not surprised he was not able to get up and contest that, because he was kind of still running to get into position when the ball.
Fair enough. There. But who's your player of the game?
So
you got to commit. Got to commit to someone.
So I went Kenny Clark, because he actually made some splash plays that, even if it was not for the whole game.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the defense is getting worn out by.
There's a lot of plays
outsnapped. 1.7 to 1 or something.
And that was the thing. Week 1, lots of good complimentary football. Week 2, not much complimentary football. Your defense isn't getting off the field. Your offense is not staying on the field. And then it just spirals and cycles and you lose the game. But anyway, I think big takeaway, Jordan Love looked pretty good. Had some good moments. I thought looked better than he did week 1 even. There are still massive questions on the defense. You have a lot of talent there, and it's not really their problems with this specific type of team, which we knew there would be problems with, but like at the same time, you'd hope they had improved going into this year with the changes they had said they were going to make schematically on defense. It did not really bear out in a better performance. But still 1-1. Rest of the North lost. Also, you're still leading the division, and I think that's an okay place to be. Dad, last closing remarks, and we'll get out of here. We're getting a little late.
Yeah. Well, I would just say that we still have banked a road win already. And it was actually not just in conference, but in division. So that's good. And we're going to get a home game coming up.
Yes. Game coming up this coming Sunday, 6 days from now as we record onto you Monday night.
Saints,
and that will be against the Saints. Yes, a home
opener.
Who are 2-0. So tough matchup, home opener. Hopefully the Pack can come out there. We'll be giving you a pregame for that game on Thursday, so keep your eyes on the feed for that. Like we said earlier, if you want updates from when we put out any new episodes, follow us on Twitter at FatherSonPacker. We tweet out when we have new episodes out, articles we find interesting, etc., etc. And then if you want to subscribe to us on your podcast platform of choice, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, etc. Come give us a follow. We'd really appreciate it. Really help our numbers. But anyway, thank you again so much for listening. Tough loss for the Packers, but just keep in perspective on this season. There were some decent things as well, if not very frustrating end of the game. But anyway, thank you again for listening. Until next time, go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go.